Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you for joining me today for another card making video. And today we're going to be working with circle sayings again. So in the previous videos I've done a seaside theme with this image here. But today we're going to go sort of celebratory. I suppose it could be birthday or whatever. It doesn't really matter which celebration it is, I think, as long as there's cake involved. So we've got those that celebrate circle that we're going to use today along with the cupcake, and we're going to use this little embellishment stamp as well to create our card. So that stamp set comes in as a bundle with the 2 3/8 inch circle punch. Okay, so 2 3/8 of an inch. It's one of the largest punches we've had there. Okay, so we've got that out, and so we're just going to do a bit of colouring on those cupcakes and some Winker Stella on the frosting, the icing there, and a bit of embossing. So we've gone all pinky and pink and girly on this one. So we're going to switch out our colourway to make something a bit more for the boys. This colourway was Bubble Bath. I keep wanting to call it Bubble Gum. Bubble Bath, Berry Burst is the layer in there, and the ink here. I did drop in a bit of Fresh Freesia for this little accent colour, but obviously you could just keep with the Bubble Bath if you wanted to. Okay, and yeah, so the embossing folder on the back here. This is one of a set of 3 that are available as online exclusives. Okay, so this combo is going to be Tahitian Tide Blueberry Bushel. That's what we're going to go for today. So our little panel here, this is 3 inches by, I want to say 3 3/4. Where's my ruler gone? Definitely 3 inches across, yeah, and yeah, 4 3/4. Blueberry bushel is 1/8 of an inch taller and wider, just to give us that little matting layer there. So we're going to use this dotty embossing folder. And what I'm going to say is we're going to line this up with the line that's on the embossing folder there. The black line on the design. So that helps you just to get this level. And I'm also eyeballing the sides here just to try and get those dots even. So it kind of looks a bit odd if the there's sort of more of one dot showing than the other. And I'm just looking at the top and bottom just to see where we're at with that as well. So I need to bring that down a bit, I think. But using that line on the embossing folder as a guide, I think we're going to go about there. And just hold that in there. And then we're going to use our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So we're not going to need our thin die adapter or a cutting plate. We just need our base platform and the number 4 embossing plate, which is dark grey, which I've just got in my drawer here. So here's the number 4 plate, which are all numbered up, so it's really easy to use. Okay, so that's the sandwich to do 3D embossing folders. So I'm just going to run that through, and you should feel a little bit of resistance, but not a lot. And then we get this wonderful embossed background. Looks cool debossed as well. Okay, so that's what we've got there. So let's just pop all this stuff away. Kind of like to clear up as I go. And then I'm ready to make my next project. Okay. So just as we did on this one, I did add just a touch of ink with a blending brush to the back, which helps the rest of the that circle pop a little bit. this is just the brush straight out of the pot that I store them in. So it's just going to have some residual blue ink on it. I just wanted to check that it wasn't going to be too dark. Just to lift that a little bit. And that is it. I haven't added any more colour. I'm just using what was there. Okay, and it's super pale, and it probably, oh no, I think you can see it a little bit. It's super pale, but when you've got another sort of white thing on top of it, I think that will pop quite nicely. We might as well get this glued onto our layer so it's ready while we've got it in our hands. So this is going to go onto this blueberry bushel layer here, just using wet glue because it's a textured surface. The tape runners don't really do well on very textured surfaces. They can lift the card, you know, sort of tear it a little bit. So a bit of wet glue there, and that panel's ready to go for our project when we're ready to assemble everything. Right, so cupcakes. I'm going to bring in the Memento ink. Oops, a daisy. Because we want a waterproof ink. No, we don't. We want a water-based ink to colour with our alcohol markers. Okay, because the two won't run, or well, the running will be minimalised. Okay, so we're just using that ink as the outline. Any of the classic ink pads, the coloured inks in the Stampin' Up range, they're all water based, so they will all work with Stampin' Blends. For the sort of the top of the sponge that's just peeking out on there, I'm using this marker, which is it's called SU 800 on the pen. I think it's called something like Light Tone or something in the catalogue. These are the sort of the natural tones collection. So I'm just popping a little bit of that over that sponge area and just a little over the cupcake like casing, because you would sort of see a little bit of that sort of sponge colour coming through. And then the frosting that we're going to do is going to coordinate with the base card just as it did on this one. So I used no I didn't, I used bubble bath god, bubble bath to colour the icing that matched the card base. So this one's going to be in Tahitian Tide. So dark marker first, just to pop in some of the shadow that would kind of be there as those layers and that sort of swirls get stacked up. So just go over that a couple of times, and it's literally just a line. There's no magic. There's no magic. And then the light marker, we're going to go over the top. And you might find that in the first instance the colour looks a bit flat. You can see a little bit of the line, but not as intense. But just using that bullet tip just to add a little bit more of that dark in, just to intensify that a little bit. Like so. Just to give a bit more definition on there. And then we're just going to go over the top of that with some Wink of Stella glitter. Just like so. It's a really, really lovely way to add glitter and sparkle, and it's just really, really nice and subtle. It's so cute. And I think, you know, that buttercream kind of icing, it's one of my favourite things in the world actually. I love buttercream icing. Some people would think it would be a bit too sweet, but I love it. does sort of have, because it has the sugar in it, it does sometimes have that little sort of, I don't know, sparkly kind of look to it. I'm going to take the paper snips to cut this out. These snips are great for fussy cutting because they are sharp all the way to the point. You can literally go all the way to the end of your scissor like that, and you will get a really nice clean cut. If you use not so great scissors, see how that sort of buckled the paper and made that sort of nasty sort of raised bit at the end of the cut? You don't get that with the snips, so they're sharp all the way to the point. And what you want to do is use the full length of the blade, turning the cardstock in the blade and just gently squeezing the scissors together. Nice and evenly as you go round. If you try and sort of snip away at it, you're more likely to get a jagged edge. Okay, so there's our cupcake all nicely fussy cut out, and I've already done 2 more ahead of time. But what I was going to say was, if you're doing this kind of jobby, you know, you just don't get, one, you're doing it faster, and then you get like these jaggedy kind of areas, whereas you get a much smoother edge when you do it in a more controlled way. So that's my few little tips on fussy cutting. Some of you will have seen those before, but it's just a little reminder of, well, it's how I do it anyway. So a couple of dimensionals are going on the back of each of these, ready to pop on to our circle. So I've got another piece of cardstock here, and again, just to match the original example, the Celebrate stamp I'm going to do in Blueberry Bushel, which is our layering colour. Okay, this is one of the ones that's come back. I don't know why I wanted to get that orientated the right way up, because in a circle, and once we've punched it, we'll be able to just twizzle it around to what we want anyway. So we're just going to pop that down, and as you can see, there are 3 Celebrates all the way around the edge of that, which we aren't going to need all of those. And that's fine. The stamp set itself is really only designed to have just one of these in the middle. Okay, like that. Super duper. We can do that. But I just wanted to do something a little different, and so when I was messing about with the layout, what I found was if I covered up those elements there, just leaving those little dots, little accent dots there, and then I popped this one in at the front, a bit lower down, so it looks like it's towards the front. Okay, rather than just sitting in a row, it covered up those other 2 elements. So that's how I arrived at the layout that I got. But then I had this like sort of little empty space here, which is why I added this little accent thing. So you could totally do that indentation tied, just to keep everything tied together, but I thought I'd just drop in a 3rd colour, and for this card I'm using Smoky Slate. So I'm just going to, the B is the sort of 12 o'clock letter, if you like, so just going to pop that in underneath there just to fill that gap, just so that there isn't an empty space there. Right, and then we're going to come in with our coordinating 2 3/8 of an inch punch and come round the edge of that. Now there looks like there's acres and acres and acres of space around that, but if you try and use the 2-inch punch, it actually gets too close. So the 2-inch punch is again an online exclusive. You'd have to check availability on the store, but you see it's just way too close, it just wouldn't fit. So the 2 3/8 was perfect. So again, you just want to eyeball that, and again, if it's a little off, especially around the bottom, it's not going to matter a great deal because we're going to be popping our little cupcakes on. But line it up as best you can anyway, okay, and just punch that out. The punches will store flat if you sort of just squeeze them and then push the clip up. They lock in this sort of flat position, okay, and they kind of stack as well, but for the same size, the sort of aperture bit, they sort of lock together and stack quite nicely. I have mine sideways on, so they're easy to slide in and out of my Stampin' storage. So there we go. So that's our little element there. And we're going to basically build up our little element with the cupcakes before it goes onto the card. So we're going to get this bit done first and then add it to the card. Ooh. So all the backings off those dimensionals. So like I say, we're going to go try and get that as central as you can on your working surface, and we're going to pop this one in just below that little dot. My surface, even though that's got exposed glue there, my surface is non-porous, so it's not going to stick too hard. Just be mindful of that if you're working on, like, you know, if you work on like a paper or something. So I could do with that being pulled in a little bit. It's got a bit of the lettering showing through on the left hand side there, but we can live with it. Don't think it's super obvious. Okay, so that's our element that we're now going to use on our card. So let's layer this thing together. We might as well stick with wet glue. That's what we've used before. Just gives us an opportunity to make sure it's all nice and level. So we'll just pop this on. Okay, and then we can do the same with this. So obviously the wet glue is going to be helpful here because this embossing folder in particular, those raised dots are really raised. So you're going to want the wet glue to help you adhere that to the tops of those. Okay. And then our finishing touch is just some sequins. So these are the pastel adhesive back sequins. So we have gold, pink and blue. These are a carryover item actually. We're just going to use pokey tool just to lift those off the backing sheets. So 2 sizes. And those of you who watch regularly know I like mixed sizes of embellishments like that. It's kind of a little formula I have for creating the card. That's exactly what I did with the other one, with just the pink ones obviously, and then you've got the gold. So yeah, I suppose we could do something a bit more neutral. We could use lemon lolly or something to make a neutral themed celebration as well, or in any colour that matches the party you're going to. Okay, so if there is a colour theme, obviously you can make it to match. They could equally be, some people have sort of cupcake kind of towers to give out to wedding guests instead of chopping up the big wedding cake and stuff. So again, you know, they'll have their, you know, the bridal colours and stuff. So totally customisable for the event that you're going to. I hope that was useful. and you've learned something along the way. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you're staying safe, taking care. I'll see you again soon. Bye.